My name is Alina Vance, and I am 32 years old. 3 weeks ago, I was confined to a hospital bed, battling internal hemorrhaging, 3 fractured ribs, and a ruptured spleen after a drunk driver slammed into my car at an intersection. My 2-year-old daughter, Chloe, was safe and sound at daycare when it occurred, but I knew I wouldn't be the one picking her up. Paramedics warned me that I needed emergency surgery within the hour, or I might not survive. Shaking, with an oxygen mask partially obscuring my face, I managed to call my mother from the ambulance. "Mom," I stammered, fighting through the agony. "I've been in a car accident. I need emergency surgery. Could you please pick up Chloe from daycare and watch her? I'm at Mercy General." There was a brief silence, followed by my mother's voice, thick with annoyance and inconvenience. "Sarah, this is incredibly bad timing. Your father and I are leaving for our Caribbean cruise tomorrow morning. We've had this planned for months. You know how much we've been looking forward to this with your sister." I was stunned. "Mom, I have internal bleeding. They're rushing me into surgery. Chloe needs someone." "You're always so dramatic," she snapped, cutting me off. "I'm sure it's not as serious as you're making it sound. You probably just have some bruises. Can't you call one of those babysitting services? We have our cruise, Sarah. 14 days with your sister and her family. We aren't missing that for your drama." The paramedic beside me stared at my phone with a look I will never forget, pure disgust mixed with disbelief. "Mom, please, I'm begging you. Chloe is 2 years old. She needs family." "We are family, which is why you should understand how important this trip is to us. Your sister specifically requested we come. She's already waiting for us in San Diego. I'm not disappointing her because you got into a fender bender. Figure it out yourself. You're an adult." The line went dead. I stared at the device, my blood seeping through the temporary bandages the paramedics had applied to my side. The female paramedic gently took the phone from my hand. "Honey," she said softly, "let's focus on getting you stabilized. Do you have anyone else?" I did. My ex-husband had abandoned us when Chloe was 6 months old, moved across the country, and hadn't paid a cent in child support. My father always deferred to my mother. My sister, Vanessa, was already in San Diego, likely sipping cocktails on a beach while waiting for our parents to join her on their luxury family vacation. The one I clearly wasn't deemed important enough to be invited to. Before I share what happened next, if you're enjoying this story, I would truly appreciate a like and a subscribe, but only if you're genuinely connecting with this. Now, let me tell you about the decision I made in that ambulance. "I need to make a call," I told the paramedic, my voice now steady and cold with clarity. I pulled up a premium nanny service I'd heard about from a coworker. Despite the pain and fear, I explained my situation. They had someone available immediately, a wonderful woman named Teresa who could pick up Chloe within 30 minutes and stay with her for as long as necessary. It was $45 an hour with a 24-hour minimum. I didn't hesitate. I provided my credit card information right there in the back of the ambulance. Then, I did something else, something I'd pondered for years but never possessed the courage to execute. I opened my banking app and canceled the automatic monthly transfer. $3,800, every single month for 8 years and 2 months. I did the math, even through the haze of pain, $374,240. That was the sum I had secretly funneled to my parents since I was 24. They believed they were surviving on my father's pension and Social Security. They had no idea their mortgage, car payments, HOA fees, and property taxes were being funded by the daughter they viewed as a failure. Let me backtrack to explain how I arrived at this point, because it didn't begin with a car crash. It started 32 years ago when I was born and my mother decided I would never be enough. Growing up, I was always the other daughter. Vanessa, 3 years my senior, was perfect. Straight A's, homecoming queen, a full scholarship to Stanford, and an MBA from Kellogg. Now, she is a senior executive at a Fortune 500 company earning $400,000 a year. She was my parents' pride and joy, the success story they proudly introduced at parties. As for me, I was the afterthought. the surprise baby my mother never really wanted. I once overheard her telling friends when I was 7, 2 was the plan. Sarah was the accident. I struggled with dyslexia in school, and my grades were mediocre despite working twice as hard as my peers. I didn't attend an Ivy League school, I went to a state university on student loans. I became a medical billing specialist, making a decent $72,000 a year. It wasn't glamorous, impressive, or worth mentioning at family gatherings. My mother introduced Vanessa as my daughter, the executive. She introduced me as my other daughter, if she introduced me at all. When I was 24 and just starting my first real job, I visited my parents and accidentally discovered a foreclosure notice on the kitchen counter. My father's pension wasn't enough. They were drowning in debt. The home they'd occupied for 30 years was about to be seized. Despite everything, the neglect, the favoritism, and the constant comparisons, they were still my parents. I went to their bank, arranged a payment plan, and began covering their mortgage. Soon, I noticed their car was slated for repossession, so I took over those payments too. Then came the property taxes and HOA fees. I set it all up through automatic transfers labeled transfer, so they wouldn't know the source. They just assumed they suddenly had more money. They never questioned it, and they certainly never thanked me, because they never knew. For 8 years, I lived in a modest apartment, drove a 10-year-old Honda, and wore clothes from Nordstrom so my parents could maintain their lifestyle in their 3-bedroom house in a nice neighborhood, drive newer cars, and take annual vacations. When I became pregnant with Chloe, my mother's response was, "Well, that's an unfortunate time. I hope you're not expecting us to babysit. We already raised our children." When Chloe's father left, my mother remarked, "I'm not surprised. You always did have poor judgment." When I asked if they wanted to be involved in Chloe's life, my mother stated, "We see her on major holidays. That's sufficient." They had seen their granddaughter exactly 7 times in 2 years, once for each Christmas, Thanksgiving, and her first and second birthdays. That was it, no spontaneous visits, no offering to watch her while I ran errands. They had zero interest in being grandparents, yet they had flown to San Diego 4 times in the past year to visit Vanessa. They'd gone on 2 cruises with her and posted hundreds of Facebook photos documenting family time with my sister, her husband, and their kids. I wasn't in a single photo. Neither was Chloe. Last Thanksgiving, the family group text included everyone except me. I only discovered the dinner plans because I called my mother directly. When I arrived, she looked annoyed. "Oh, we didn't think you'd want to come. You're always so busy." There were place settings for 12, but none were for Chloe and me. The surgery lasted 4 hours. They removed my spleen, repaired my internal injuries, and set my ribs. When I woke up, Teresa was there. She had brought Chloe to the hospital, and my daughter was sleeping peacefully in a portable crib the nurses had provided. "She's perfect," Teresa whispered. "We had dinner and she had a bath at your apartment. I hope you don't mind, I got your keys from your purse. She fell asleep around 8:00. She asked for you, but I told her mommy would see her very soon." I began to cry. This stranger had done more for my daughter in 6 hours than my own mother had done in 2 years. "Teresa, I can't thank you enough." "Stop," she said gently. "This is my job, but more importantly, this is what people who care about children do. You focus on healing. I've got Chloe." For the next 3 days, Teresa stayed with Chloe. The bill for the nanny service came to $3,780. I paid it without hesitation. It was worth every penny. My mother didn't call once to check on me, not even once. On the 4th day, my phone began ringing. It was my mother. I let it go to voicemail. She called repeatedly. By evening, she had called 23 times. My father called 14 times. Even my sister called, which was unusual as we barely spoke. I finally answered on the 31st attempt. "Hello, Sarah." My mother's voice was hysterical. "What did you do? What did you do?" "I'm recovering from surgery, Mom. Thanks for asking. Chloe is fine, by the way. Also, thanks for asking." "Don't you dare be sarcastic with me. The mortgage payment didn't go through. Our account is overdrawn." "The bank is calling. What is happening?" "I canceled the automatic transfer," I said calmly. "What transfer? What are you talking about?" The $3,800 I've been sending you every month for the past 8 years. I stopped it. Silence, total absolute silence. Then, that was you. It was me. Every month since I was 24. Your mortgage, your car payments, your property taxes, your HOA fees, all of it. $374,240 total. You're welcome. But we thought your father's investments. Dad doesn't have investments, Mom. He has a modest pension and Social Security. You've been living off my income for almost a decade. And when I needed you for one afternoon, one single afternoon, to watch your granddaughter while I underwent emergency surgery to save my life, you told me you weren't missing your cruise for my drama. Sarah, you don't understand. I understand perfectly. You chose a vacation over your daughter's life. You labeled a medical emergency drama. You told me to figure it out myself, so I did. I hired a stranger to care for Chloe, and I'm cutting you off permanently. Every automatic payment is gone. You're on your own now. You can't do this, we'll lose everything, the house, the car. Figure it out yourself, Mom, you're an adult. I hung up. The calls persisted, 47 times that day, 52 times the next, 68 times the day after. I blocked both my parents' numbers. Then came the emails and text messages from relatives I hadn't spoken to in years. The Facebook messages all carried the same sentiment. How could I be so cruel? How could I abandon my elderly parents? How could I let them lose their home? Not one of them asked about my recovery. Not one asked about Chloe. Not one acknowledged that my mother had refused to help during a medical emergency. I was discharged from the hospital after 6 days. Teresa helped me get settled at home with Chloe, ensured I had everything I needed, and gave me her personal number. I gave her a $500 bonus, and she hugged me while crying. 2 weeks after the accident, I received a call from an unknown number. I almost ignored it, but something compelled me to pick up. Is this Alina Vance? A professional female voice asked. Yes. This is Brenda Sterling. I'm a social worker at St. Jude Memorial. I was reviewing some recent cases and found something concerning. May I speak with you about your emergency admission on October 3rd? My heart sank. Were they investigating me? Had I been reported for something? Of course, I said cautiously. I see here that you were admitted with life-threatening injuries from a car accident and underwent emergency surgery. Your chart notes that you called your mother for child care assistance and she refused. Is that correct? Yes, that's correct. And you then hired a private nanny service from your hospital bed. Yes, Teresa was wonderful. My daughter was perfectly cared for. I'm not questioning that at all, Gloria said quickly. I'm actually calling because one of our ER nurses flagged your case. She was concerned about the family dynamics. Would you be willing to meet with me? I think there's something you should know. We met 3 days later at a coffee shop near the hospital. Gloria was a woman in her 50s with kind eyes and a direct manner. She didn't waste time on small talk. Sarah, what I'm about to tell you isn't easy to hear. I've been a social worker for 27 years and have seen thousands of cases of neglect, abuse, and dysfunction. Your case stood out because it's a clear example of covert emotional neglect from parental figures with narcissistic tendencies. I must have looked confused, so she continued. Your mother's response to your emergency wasn't just selfish, it was pathological. A normal parent, even one who isn't particularly close to their adult child, would respond to a medical crisis. The fact that she didn't, combined with what our nurse overheard regarding your financial support, points to a deeply dysfunctional dynamic. I just thought she was always kind of self-centered, I said weakly. Sarah, has your mother ever acknowledged your accomplishments, celebrated your achievements, or shown genuine interest in your life? I thought about it, really thought about it. No, I finally said, never. Has she constantly compared you unfavorably to your sister? Has she ever made you feel responsible for her happiness or well-being? I reflected on those 8 years of payments and the guilt I felt even now for stopping them. Yes. Gloria nodded. What you've been experiencing is called a golden child scapegoat dynamic. Your sister is the golden child. She can do no wrong and represents success. You're the scapegoat, blamed for problems, expected to give without receiving, and never quite good enough. You've been financially fueling this dynamic, literally paying for the privilege of being treated poorly. Something inside my chest cracked open. All those years, all that money, all that effort to earn love that was never going to come. What do I do? I whispered. You've already done it, Gloria said firmly. You cut off the money. That was the right call. Now you must maintain boundaries. They will escalate. They will use guilt, manipulation, and flying monkeys, relatives who pressure you on their behalf. You need to remain strong. I feel so guilty, though. Of course you do. They've trained you to feel responsible for them. But answer me this. If the situation were reversed, if they had the money and you were struggling, do you think they would secretly pay your bills for 8 years? I knew the answer immediately. No. Exactly. This has been a one-way relationship. You deserve better. More importantly, Chloe deserves to grow up watching her mother be treated with respect. You are breaking a generational pattern. That is difficult, but it is necessary. We talked for 2 hours. When I left, I felt something I hadn't felt in years, clear-headed and confident. 3 weeks after the accident, on a Tuesday afternoon, my doorbell rang. I peered through the peephole to see my parents standing there. My mother looked furious. My father looked defeated. I opened the door but didn't invite them in. What do you want? We need to talk, my mother said, attempting to push past me. I blocked the entrance. We can talk here. Sarah, please don't be difficult. We drove all the way here. You drove 30 minutes, Mom. The same 30 minutes you couldn't spare when I was dying in a hospital. That's not fair. We didn't know it was that serious. I told you I had internal bleeding. I told you I needed emergency surgery. Which part of that didn't sound serious? My father finally spoke up. Sarah, sweetheart, we're going to lose the house. We need you to reinstate the payments, just until we figure something else out. Figure what out, Dad? You're both retired, you have no other income. You've been living off me for 8 years. If I start paying again, you'll just expect it forever. But where will we go? My mother's voice hit that whiny tone I'd endured my whole life. I don't know, Mom. Maybe you can stay with Vanessa. She's the successful daughter, right? The one worth spending time with. Vanessa doesn't have room. She has a 5-bedroom house, but her guest rooms are occupied. Then downsize. Sell the house, get an apartment you can afford on Dad's pension. That's what normal people do. This is our home, Sarah. We've lived here for 30 years. And I've paid for it for 8 of those years. I'm done. My mother's face twisted into something ugly. You're just doing this to punish us. You've always been spiteful and selfish. This is exactly why we've never been close. Something inside me snapped. We've never been close because you never wanted to be, you've never liked me. From the day I was born, I was the accident, the burden, the disappointment. I've spent 32 years trying to earn your love, and I'm finished. I'm done paying for it. I'm done begging for it. I'm done. If you don't help us, we'll be homeless. My mother shrieked. Then I guess you'll figure it out. You're adults, remember. I slammed the door. They pounded on it for 10 minutes, but I didn't open it again. Eventually, they left. The phone calls reached a fever pitch. My mother called 8 or 9 times a day. When I blocked her, she called from others' phones. She showed up at my apartment 4 more times, but I refused to answer. Then came the Facebook post. My mother wrote a long, detailed account about her ungrateful daughter who had abandoned her elderly parents in their time of need. She painted herself as the victim of a cruel, heartless child. Conveniently, she omitted the part about refusing to watch Chloe during my surgery. She definitely didn't mention the $374,240. Extended family members I barely knew began commenting. Family should help family. Elders deserve respect. How could you? I didn't respond to any of it. Gloria had warned me this would happen. Don't defend yourself on social media, she had advised. People who want to believe you're the villain will believe it, no matter what you say. The people who matter will see the truth. She was right. 3 of my cousins reached out privately. We saw your mom's post, but we also noticed she wouldn't say what actually happened. What's the real story? I told them everything. The 8 years of payments, the cruise, the refusal to help with Chloe, and the complete lack of concern for my well-being. Their responses were similar. Oh my God, I had no idea. That's awful. You did the right thing. But publicly, my mother's narrative dominated. I was the ungrateful daughter, the family villain. Fine. I could live with that. 6 weeks after the accident, I was mostly healed physically. The emotional recovery was ongoing, and I had started seeing a therapist specializing in family trauma. It was helping. Then, something unexpected happened. I received a call from an unrecognized number. When I answered, an elderly male voice said, "Sarah, this is your grandfather, your mother's father. Please don't hang up." I had never met my maternal grandfather. He and my grandmother had divorced when my mother was young, and there had been some sort of major falling out. My mother never spoke of him, except to say he was dead to the family. "Grandpa Arthur," I said cautiously. "That's right. I know this is out of the blue, but I need to talk to you. Your mother doesn't know I'm calling." "Can we meet?" We met the following day at the same coffee shop where I had met Gloria. Arthur was 78, sharp as a tack, and didn't pull punches. "I heard about what happened," he said after we sat down. We ordered coffee. It turned out Aunt Carol, my mother's sister, had been the one to fill him in. She laid out the whole situation, the crash, the surgery, and my mother's cold-hearted reaction. She even told him about the financial support I'd been providing all these years. How did Aunt Carol know? She'd been watching this slow-motion disaster for ages. She'd actually tried to warn me once, but my mother intercepted the call. When he asked if I'd received any messages from her around 5 years ago, it clicked. I faintly recalled my mother claiming her sister was a liar who was trying to poison our relationship, and I'd never thought to question it. "I suspected as much," Arthur said grimly. "Sarah, I need to be honest with you about your mother. She's my daughter and I love her, but she isn't a good person. Never has been. She was diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder at 19 and refused to seek help. It tore my marriage apart because her mother and I couldn't agree on how to handle it." He sipped his coffee before continuing. "She's done this before. She finds someone to bankroll her lifestyle while treating them like trash. She did the exact same thing to her first husband, your sister's biological father. Did you even know Vanessa Vance has a different father?" I was floored. "What?" "Your mother was married before she met your father," he explained. "Her first husband, Howard, supported her for years while she treated him like dirt. She was constantly comparing him to other men, making him feel worthless, all while keeping him around for his paycheck. When he finally left, she moved on to your father. He's a decent man, but he's weak. He'll never stand up to her." "Why are you telling me this?" I asked. "Because you need to realize it isn't you. It's never been you. She's incapable of genuine love or empathy. You could win a Nobel Prize and she'd still find a flaw. The problem isn't your actions, it's your role in her life. You're her supply. You're just a source of money and someone she can feel superior to. That's all you've ever been." I sat there stunned. "The way you cut off the funds, that was the right move. They're going to lose the house. Foreclosure is already underway. Your father called me last week begging for help, but I told him what I'm telling you. It's time they face reality." "What will they do?" "They'll downsize, move into a small apartment, and live within their means. Between your father's pension and Social Security, they can afford a modest life. They just won't have the mansion, the luxury cars, and the yearly cruises. And Sarah, that's not your cross to bear. It never was." We spoke for another hour. Arthur shared stories of my mother's behavior over the years, detailing the string of people she'd used and discarded, a cycle of abuse that spanned decades. It was both validating and devastating. Before we left, he asked, "If you're open to it, I'd love to get to know you and Chloe. I know I'm practically a stranger, but I'm your grandfather, and I'd like to try." "I'd like that too," I replied. 2 months post-accident, my parents lost their house and moved into a 2-bedroom apartment 30 miles away. Despite her massive home and a six-figure salary, Vanessa Vance didn't lift a finger. When they asked for help, she supposedly told them that she and her husband had budgeted their lifestyle too tightly to take on extra expenses. The irony was not lost on me. My mother sent one last email: "I hope you're happy. You've destroyed your family. We'll never forgive you." I didn't reply. There was nothing left to say. By the 3-month mark, I had fully recovered. Chloe was flourishing, and I'd received a promotion at work, a $15,000 raise that I could actually keep. I moved us into a better 2-bedroom apartment so Chloe could have her own space. Grandpa Arthur visited every Sunday. He was the grandfather I'd always longed for and the parent figure I'd always needed. He taught Chloe how to paint, took me to lunch, and actually took an interest in my dreams and feelings. He even met Teresa, our occasional babysitter, and told her she was an angel. "This is what family is meant to be," he told me one afternoon while Chloe napped. People who show up. People who care because they want to, not because they're obligated. One day at the grocery store, I bumped into an old high school acquaintance. She'd seen my mother's Facebook posts labeling me a terrible daughter. "I just wanted you to know," she said quietly. "I never believed that narrative. I remember how your mom used to talk about you in high school. I'm sorry you went through that." "Thank you," I said. It meant more than she could know. Today, 6 months after the accident, I'm sitting in my living room watching Chloe play with her blocks. She's nearly 3, happy, healthy, and loved. She calls Grandpa Arthur Papa and beams whenever he walks through the door. My monthly budget now has a $3,800 surplus. I've started a college fund for Chloe. I'm planning a real vacation, just the two of us, to Universal Studios. I'm buying clothes I actually like, and I finally got my car fixed properly. My mother hasn't reached out in 2 months. The last I heard from Aunt Carol, my parents were struggling in their apartment and making everyone around them miserable with their constant complaints. My father tried to reach me through Grandpa Arthur once, but I declined. Maybe one day, but not now, not until he can stand up for himself and acknowledge the truth. Vanessa Vance texted me once last month. "Mom's been hounding me for money." I blocked her. FYI, I didn't respond. Vanessa Vance made her choices, just as I made mine. I've learned something vital over these past 6 months. Cutting off toxic family isn't cruelty, it's self-preservation. It's prioritizing yourself and your child over people who have proven they don't value you. It's refusing to pay, literally and figuratively, for a love that should have been given freely. I wasted $374,240 trying to purchase my mother's affection. I could have bought a house or fully funded Chloe's education with that money. Instead, I bought a painful, necessary lesson. Some people will take everything you offer and still demand more. The only way to win is to stop playing their game. Oh, and remember that surgeon I mentioned. The one who walked in while my mother was demanding I keep paying them. That was day 5 of my recovery. My mother had sweet-talked her way past the nurses and was looming over my bed, listing every reason I supposedly owed her. Dr. Sterling, my surgeon, entered for a post-op check. She took one look at the scene, me, pale and exhausted, and my mother, red-faced and shouting, and said, "I need you to leave. My patient requires rest." "I'm her mother," she snapped. "I have every right to be here." Dr. Sterling pulled up my chart on her tablet. "According to our records, you refused to help care for your granddaughter when your daughter was admitted with life-threatening injuries. Our ER staff documented it. You told her, and I quote, 'I'm not missing my cruise for your drama.'" My mother's face went white. "Your daughter had a ruptured spleen, internal bleeding, 3 broken ribs, and coded once during surgery." Dr. Sterling's voice was icy. "She nearly died, and you were on a cruise ship. So no, I don't believe you have a right to be here, causing her stress. Leave now, or I'll call security and have you permanently banned from this floor." My mother's mouth opened and closed like a fish. She looked at me, expecting me to defend her or smooth things over like I always did. I said nothing. She grabbed her purse and left. The look of shock, humiliation, and disbelief on her face was priceless. Once the door closed, Dr. Sterling turned to me with a gentle smile. "I have a daughter. If she ever needed me and I chose a vacation instead, I wouldn't deserve the title of mother." You did nothing wrong by cutting her off. Nothing. I broke down in tears. She sat with me for 20 minutes, not as a doctor, but as one person to another, and shared her own journey of setting boundaries with a toxic mother-in-law. She gave me Gloria's number and encouraged me to seek therapy for family trauma. That conversation changed everything. It was the first time an authority figure had validated my feelings rather than dismissing them. It gave me the strength to hold my ground when the pressure became too much. So, here I am, 6 months later. I'm a single mother with a beautiful daughter, a bond with my grandfather, a career I enjoy, and absolutely zero debt to the people who raised me. I won't lie and say it's been easy. Some days, guilt creeps in. Some days, I wonder if I should have tried harder or been more forgiving. Then I remind myself that I gave them 32 years of chances. I gave them $374,240. I gave them my time, my energy, my emotional labor, and my desperate yearning to be enough. They gave me nothing but criticism and more demands. I'm finished giving to people who only know how to take. Chloe will grow up knowing her worth. She'll grow up watching her mother set boundaries and stand up for herself. She'll grow up with a Papa Arthur who loves her unconditionally, not for what she achieves or provides, but simply because she exists. That is what love is. And if my mother ever wonders why she lost her daughter, the answer is simple. She never truly had me. She had a bank account with emotions attached. When that account closed, there was nothing left. I'm finally free. Chloe is safe. We're building a life surrounded by people who genuinely care. Honestly, that's priceless. If you've made it this far, thank you for reading. Drop a comment and let me know where you're watching from. And if you've dealt with family who only valued what you could provide rather than who you are, know that you aren't alone. You aren't the villain. You deserve better. You deserve people who would drop everything for you in a crisis, not people who would choose a cruise. Choose yourself. Protect your peace. Build your chosen family. It's the best decision I ever made.